I'll walk through scriptures looking at Jesus Christ yesterday, today, and forever, because he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. I am Angela, the Diligent Woman from diligentwoman.com. And the Jesus Christ yesterday, today, and forever scripture writing plan, as I've mentioned before, is kind of my way of keeping a focus on Christ and his impact on us. It includes looking at his birth, but it also takes a broader look at all of his things. And so today we are continuing our reading in Matthew, and it is our reading of events after his birth. This is when he is a child, not an infant. We're going to see, I believe, today. So let's read in Matthew chapter 2, verses 7 through 12. And again, always, I want to encourage you to write it out. It's amazing the things that you will notice when you take the time to slow down and write it out. Okay? So yesterday we read about the Magi from the east coming and it causing a stir and it making Herod ask a question. And the local people of knowledge telling him about the prophecies about a child to be born in Bethlehem. So this is Herod's response. And then what happened after that? So Matthew chapter 2, verse 7. Then Herod secretly called the Magi and carefully determined from them the time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child, and when you have found him, report to me, so that I too may come and worship him." Now, after hearing the king, they went their way. And behold, the star which they had seen in the east was going on before them until it came and stood over the place where the child was. So they are following a star from the east to the west. Somebody, you correct me, how exactly, that works. And it's something they seem to be actively following. So it doesn't seem to be following just day and night patterns. But I guess it could also be just as simple as they are watching its placement where that star is in the sky in relation to where they are and as they get closer to it. I'm sure it could be either of those things. So the star which they had seen in the east was going on before them until it came and stood over the place where the child was. Verse 9. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And after coming into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell to the ground and worshipped him. Then opening their treasures, they presented to him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, the Magi departed for their own country by another way. Fascinating that God, again, shares that he gives a warning in a dream, but we're not given that warning. We're just told they had one, and they obviously believed it, and they obeyed it, and they didn't go back and report to Herod. So here we have Herod has asked his local people to confirm what they've heard about the Magi, and then he calls the Magi to him, gets their information from them, and he instructs them, you go find the child, and when you find him, then let me know where you found him. He wants to know where this child is. And then we're given details on how it is that these Magi found the Christ child, and it is child. I think the translators take care of that because they saw fit to translate it as child rather than infant or baby. This is probably a toddler and would make sense with what we're going to read later whenever we learn that Herod seeks to destroy all children 2 and under. So it's going to be a child that is anywhere from an infant to 2 years old. a reasonable expectation of it being two, because this is some time has gone by. They are no longer in the barn. They are no longer in the manger. They're in a house. Interesting. Um, Nothing is ever said in Scripture about why they stay. They're not from here. They're from Nazareth. Nothing indicates why they stay. They just do. And then they only leave and go back to Nazareth when, again, Joseph is going to get a warning. So they have stayed in Bethlehem, and these magi come and find them. And again, their preparation and their intention as they go to this. And then they come, and they have come with gifts in hand, and they are kingly gifts. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh, whatever form the gold is in, whether it is in gold that they would have used as money, so either as coins or bars, small bars, or even powdered, kind of in powdered in chips so that it could be used to barter by weight. It could have been that. There's also, I've heard the position before too, that it could also be another valuable oil that was a fur oil that was called gold, it was referred to as gold because it was a precious oil that had lots of healing benefits and was also used in trade. I don't know. In our context, it's called gold. It was something that was of great value. They brought the frankincense and the myrrh in particular would have been pricey, but they were also associated with healing. But they were also spices. The myrrh in particular would be spices that would have been preparatory for a body for burial, as well as something that was used. Frankincense was often, and myrrh were often rubbed on babies right after they were born as a protection because they helped, build their immune system and gave them added protections. And the myrrh was used on a placenta to help dry it up in the process. So all of that blood got benefited by the baby before they detached it. And they rubbed the essential oils onto the placenta to aid in its drying up and then removing as it fell off at the baby, just, like your umbilical cord does. So there's lots of uses for those things that are appropriate for a young child, but are very specific to the walk that Jesus is getting ready to go through in his life. These were not just kingly gifts, acknowledging his position as king, which all of them were, because they would have all been pricey, extremely valuable, extremely desired, a benefit to the family to get these precious things. But their representation also goes with life and preparation for death. So that's an interesting take on that. But it's always important to notice here, I don't know how many packages of frankincense, gold, and myrrh were brought. There's no limit to it. He got those three specific things. Don't know if it was just three gifts for each of these magi. Each brought some of those three things. And so he got multiple gifts of that. No idea. It's not that specific. Those were the things that this group of people brought. And if it's in a caravan, I would think they probably brought quite a bit. Nothing about the number of magi, nothing about the size of their troop that's with them. You just would assume that important men from the country, especially one that it was noted, free men are more easily missed going through the country than a whole troop of men from another country. For it to get word to Herod that these men were doing this, there was something about it that caused a stir. So we have these men coming on their journey. They've probably been traveling for months, but they have been following a star that appeared to them in the east and was the thing they were following to get them to the thing they were looking for. So they were reading from Scripture. They knew of a prophecy. The star indicated that it was time. and and all that. So those are all things that if you want to, you know, do some scripture searching, um, search for the star reference, see what other indicators or prophecies go with that. Search for the the prophecy in our reading yesterday that was quoted. Find that, and a lot of times these are sometimes pieced together from multiple places, so you may have to look by phrase. One phrase may have come from one place, another phrase from another, and the understanding was all booked together in this one, in some. So I'm not telling you that's what this is. I'm telling you to explore it in all of those ways so that you can find as many avenues in scripture that might cover the information that you're given in the chapter. That makes sense? So, child is born, no longer in a barn. They now live in a house. He is a child, so likely a toddler, 1, 2 years old. And they come and they find him and they worship him. Um, we'll take note of it when we get to Luke because Matthew doesn't make note of it. But I find it fascinating that it says that his mother heard these things and took them to heart. She's watching all of these reactions to her son. And she just takes them and files those things away and stuff. So it's not lost on them what people are doing. But but they don't exactly respond to them like they would if they were expecting people to do those things. A little more, like they're kind of surprised maybe that so many people are aware of this precious child that she, even though there's a prophecy, it's different when you have people coming from out of nowhere to show up and say, we knew about your son and we're here to worship him. An amazing thing for these parents to watch that. What else do you notice from this story? And whether it matches with the holiday time or not, it's more about what you take from the reading when you read it. What do you learn? What do you learn about God and his preparation for things? What do you learn about prophecy? Remember, our quote is that Jesus Christ is the same. How does that idea get backed up with a prophecy being given hundreds of years before and now being fulfilled to such an exact degree? And can you find scriptures to match that up so you can see how exact that was? Obviously, these magi believed this is how this was fulfilled. They believed the truth of the prophecy. They believed the truth of what they saw in front of them as being the fulfillment of that. And they're not the only one, right? We'll see in Luke that there were shepherds who came earlier who did the same and other people. So how does that wrap up for you in the scheme of your faith being built on God is, and he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him, the definition of faith. My faith is not just that there is a God, but that God is, and he reacts, he does things, he provides things. And then we love our scriptures about Jesus to this point about Jesus' participation in that process. Him being in the beginning, creating all things through the Word. He is the Word. And that Word came for a purpose to teach us so that other beings, heavenly beings, could also be taught something. It's supposed to, it's this whole cyclical concept. That's one thing is supposed to feed another, and it doesn't end on one side or the other. Judgment is still going to be the end. So, I'd love to hear your comments on that. You can comment just on the video below after it drops. Don't forget that there is a hub post on thediligentwoman.com where all of these videos are being accumulated to walk you through. And I'm also working on getting a playlist on YouTube, and all of these are also uploaded. You can hear these on Spotify and iTunes if you listen and they're just not uh, pulled together in a neat little list. So you just have to find them in the order of the episodes on there. But I am working on getting them on YouTube, where they're at least in a single playlist so you can find them. So I hope that you will explore those and that you will come back tomorrow for day 9 as we continue our story of his birth in Matthew 2 and get the rest of Matthew's account. Thanks for being here.